What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be predicting every single Week 1 NFL game, showing my picks against the spread as well for you fellow gambling degenerates out there. I do want to let you guys know that this video is available exclusively every single week on my Patreon. That is patreon.com/thatfranchiseguy. And then we'll be back for the first NFL week of every month public here on YouTube. But if you enjoy this, if you enjoy my picks, if we do well and you make some money, you can see me on Patreon for the next few weeks. But let's get into it. And we already did the Detroit-Kansas City prediction in the season-long prediction video, which make sure you guys check that out if you have not yet. Yeah, we are starting 0-1, unfortunately, thanks to Kadarius Toney. To be fair, my 28-21 prediction probably would have been a lot closer if Toney just didn't have literally the worst receiver performance in the last 6 years. But I'm not making that up. That was the worst graded receiver performance in that long of a time. But anyway, we are starting 0-1, but let's bounce back, I suppose. Congrats, Lions fans, on the big win, by the way. But Carolina at Atlanta. First game here is definitely an interesting one. Bryce Young's rookie debut, Atlanta's debut with this new look defense with Ryan Nielsen, the new defensive coordinator, and a bunch of free agents coming in, and Bijan's debut. So this one's going to be a ton of fun to watch. And it's going to be very meaningful in terms of potentially what that NFC South might look like. These were my two lead dogs in the NFC South. So it's a tough pick for me. Man, I could go either way on this one. It's definitely going to be one of those games that's more fun to watch than to bet. I'm going to take the Panthers, just trusting that, Bryce Young is going to have some time to throw against a Falcons pass rush that I'm just not buying into. And I think Carolina's defense is sneaky good, and they can shut down some of the more early down, I don't want to say gimmicky stuff, but just early down offense for the Falcons and force them into more tough drop back situations. But this is going to be one of those no confidence picks for me. Just going to kind of close my eyes and pick the Panthers 20-17 here. But a high confidence pick with our next game here, Arizona at Washington. I'm going to go out on a limb here and do something I don't do too often and predict an absolute blowout here, 27-3 Washington. And this is going to be our first bet the spread here and a play for these picks. I mean, what's really to say? I think this Washington defense is going to decimate the Arizona Cardinals offense with Josh Dobbs starting. I know he finagled a decent end to his season for the Tennessee Titans coming off the street, but I'm going to bet against him being able to repeat that sort of off-the-street quarterback performance against what should be a pretty nasty defense in front of a crowd that I think is very excited to see this team get off on the right foot. So I think that pass rush is going to cook. And then, Sam Howell, it'll be interesting. I don't think they even need him to have some crazy game here for them to cover this 7-point spread that I think is just too low. But I think he could against that Cardinals defense that I'm interested to see how hard this team is going to play for Jonathan Gannon. So going to go pretty big blowout there with the Washington Commanders winning 27-3. Cincinnati at Cleveland. I know Cincinnati was my Super Bowl pick, but this game does scare me. I think Cleveland has played Joe Burrow extremely well over the years. Cleveland is also one of these teams that they could be one of the best teams in the NFL if Deshaun Watson's good and if that pass rush all comes together to be genuinely one of the best in the league. And I think, since he's got a good O-line, but they're going to have their hands full in this one, and especially if Joe Burrow is slightly slowed down with that ankle injury, perhaps still lingering a little bit. I don't know. I'm just staying away from this one in terms of gambling on it or even saying that I have a lot of confidence in this. I just kind of have a gut feeling that Cleveland's going to win this one in kind of a scrappy game with some turnovers, 21-20. Bengals fans, I love you. I picked you to win the Super Bowl, but you don't win the Super Bowl in week 1. So we're going to go Browns 21-20. San Francisco at Pittsburgh. This is another game. I picked San Francisco to go to the Super Bowl, but I don't know how well this matchup is going to favor them. Home opener for Pittsburgh. That defense is nasty, and one of the best defensive staffs in the league has had all preseason to try to get ready for the Kyle Shanahanigans offense there with Brock Purdy. So I'm still gonna pick the Niners, but this one I have about as little confidence in as any of these picks here. I'm not quite bold enough to go Pittsburgh, but definitely not betting on them to cover the 2-point spread that really isn't a huge line there. So San Francisco 17-13 in a low-scoring affair. Tennessee at New Orleans. This is also one of my more confident picks this week. I know Saints fans feel like I'm piling it on here, but it's not like they've given me anything to change my opinion that I think New Orleans is one of the most overrated teams in the league right now. And I think Tennessee is going to at least match up really well in this game. If you get to Tennessee, it's because your defensive line can eat that Titans offensive line. And I don't think the Saints have a group that can do that. And if the Titans get decent protection, you've got Tannehill with DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks came off the injury list this week, Chigo Okonkwo, and a defense that I think is going to make Derek Carr very uncomfortable. You might have to sweat this one out a little bit because that's kind of what the Titans do. But no one's picking the Titans this year. I think they come in with a chip on their shoulder, go into New Orleans and really shock them with an upset here. This is one of my favorite picks of the week. This is one I'm betting on, making it a play, even on the money line there. But if you're a little bit hesitant, you can still go spread, and I could see this being a 21-20 slug where New Orleans wins, but Tennessee still covers. So honestly, I think the Titans should be favored in this game straight up. Then we've got Jacksonville at Indianapolis. I don't really see a lot of reasons to think that Indianapolis can compete at that close of a level against Jacksonville. Only a 4.5-point spread here. I think that should be larger. I'm actually going to make this a play as well. I think that Trevor Lawrence isn't going to have a whole lot of issues passing against a meh pass rush for Indianapolis. And these receivers against those corners is pretty close to as big of a mismatch as you could find. I also think the Jags front matches up well against the Colts. Just the scheme that they run is very aggressive against the run. I think they'll do a good job containing Anthony Richardson in the read option game. I don't like this matchup for the Colts. Even pass rusher Josh Allen has had a lot of success against the Colts in the last couple of years too. So we're going to make this one a play as well. Jags 28-14. Then we got Houston at Baltimore. I go back and forth on this one, really. Houston's got some offensive linemen out, but I also don't love the pass rush for the Ravens. So it's kind of like how much of an impact is that really going to make? But does like Owe and Ojabo come out and prove a lot in week one? I think that could be something to keep an eye on, is just how does the line play fare in this one? I also think I saw that Marlon Humphrey may or may not go in this one. So if he's not there and if the Ravens aren't getting a ton of pass rush, I think Houston could potentially keep this one close. And we don't really know a lot about how good this Texans defense is going to be and how good they are going to be coming out the gate here. So I'm staying away from this one from a gambling perspective. That said, I do think the Ravens just have way too much talent. I'm really excited to see what this offense looks like here. And the Ravens always start hot too, it feels like, or at least come out strong in week one. So I'm going to go 27-16 Ravens. But I've got this on a mild sort of, maybe not upset alert, but like Houston covers alert sort of. I don't really know where to go with that one, but I will take the Ravens. Tampa Bay at Minnesota. Couple of playoff teams from last year that are very much new look. So it's tough to know exactly what we're going to get here. I honestly have a bit of a gut feeling that Baker's going to come out and play really well in this game and then kind of fall off as the year goes on. I don't really have a reason to feel that. It's just kind of a gut feeling. So I'm a little bit scared of this Vikings defense holding a 5.5-point spread in this one. I think it could be a little bit tighter than that. I'm still going to take the Vikings, but this one definitely is on upset alert for me. Will not be surprised if Tampa actually wins this one. And if I had to bet this game, would definitely side with Tampa and the 5.5 points there. But ultimately, that Vikings offense should at least have their groundwork with all those playmakers and Kirk Cousins and the same system there to get the job done in the end, almost in a similar way to what we've seen from so many Vikings games last year, where they might just have to sweat this one out in the end. Then we got the Rams at the Seahawks. Seahawks fans aren't going to like this one, but I'm going to have them with a slow start to their season here and actually losing to the LA Rams. I know there's no Cooper Kupp in this game, but our thinking on the Rams is that as the season goes on, Matthew Stafford's going to taper off. But week one, we've got Matthew Stafford here. Nobody believes in the Rams. They have Sean McVay. I think they're going to have success moving the ball on this Seahawks defense that I'm just not terrified of. And by the way, there's still this guy called Aaron Donald that absolutely owns the Seattle Seahawks, even in Seattle. So I'm going to just go on a limb here, pick the upset. I don't feel great about it. Of course, Seattle is rightfully 4.5 point favorites in this game, but maybe call it a gut feel paired with some of those thoughts we just shared. Make it enough for me to pick an upset here with the Rams. Philly at New England. I'd be scared as an Eagles fan knowing that Bill Belichick has known for 3.5 months that his next game is against the Eagles. I'm not going to say that the Eagles offense is gimmicky, but it's not a huge playbook, It's a lot of RPOs on early downs and testing the sidelines to those receivers in tough dropback situations. It is what it is. It's not a shot at the Eagles. That offense works really well for them. But with all of these hybrid safety linebackers and Belichick's ability to scheme, given the fact especially that he's had all this time to prepare, I don't think this explosive Eagles offense is going to come out the gate and just dominate New England in New England this week. Now, the talent gap offensively is pretty significant there. And at the end of the day, I don't know how great New England's offense is going to fare here against a nasty Eagles defense. So I'm still going to take the Eagles to win this game, but major upset alert here. I'm going to have this actually as a bet spread pick with New England covering. So New England +4 is the spread pick in this one. Definitely wouldn't be surprised if New England has a little bit of a week one upset this week. But I'm not quite bold enough to predict it. I'm going to kind of try to thread the needle on that one. Then we got Miami at the LA Chargers. Just announced no Teron Armstead in this one. So that's a tough one against a team that at this point in time has a healthy Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. I also think it's worth noting that Brandon Staley had probably the best coached game of his career game planning for Mike McDaniel's offense. So I do think the Chargers defense is going to be able to match up well against the Dolphins in this game, though Tua and Waddle and Tyreek Hill, obviously, they're going to get theirs at some point. So Herbert's going to have to keep it on. And I think this banged up Dolphins secondary is going to have a really hard time keeping up with all these explosive new playmakers for the Chargers. So I'm going to go Chargers 28-21, relatively confident in that one. Should be one of the better games of the week, though. And I'm not counting Miami out by any stretch of the imagination. Then we got the Raiders at the Broncos. Definitely excited to see what Russell Wilson's going to look like with Sean Payton here. I don't have a super strong opinion on who wins this game. I do think Denver's just the better team, and the Raiders defense just has got to show me something before I feel confident that they can hold a team under, 3 touchdowns plus, basically. But I do think the Raiders, currently healthy, are going to have some offensive success in this game too against Denver. So I'm actually going to go over on this game. The over-under is 43.5. I think we see some points in this one. But I am going to take the Broncos 27-20, maybe a late fourth quarter Russell Wilson game-winning touchdown drive. Then Green Bay at Chicago, one of the most anticipated matchups of the entire summer. Jordan Love versus Justin Fields. But both these offenses are not going to be at full strength. Chicago dealing with some offensive line issues. Green Bay, a huge blow this week. No Christian Watson. I mean, I don't know a team that would suffer a bigger drop-off at wide receiver with losing their number one guy. I mean, now it's Romeo Doubs will be their number one wide receiver, and then everybody else not named Samori Toure, I suppose, a 7th-round pick last year, is a rookie on this Packers roster. So that's a massive change in how I think Green Bay is going to look offensively, even against a Bears defense that has a lot to prove this year. Inversely, though, I don't think the Bears offense is going to have a lot of success here. I think the Packers pass rush is licking their chops getting to go against this offensive line with no Tevin Jenkins. Nate Davis hasn't practiced all preseason and is already not a great pass protector. And we know how talented that Packers defense is. And they've had all, summer to prepare for this one too. So I think this is going to be a game with a lot of hype that ends up being really sloppy, and we unfortunately don't get great answers from either Fields or Jordan Love on this one in terms of what their seasons could look like here. Not to mention the Bears and Packers have had some really low-scoring Week 1 affairs over the last 5 years or so. So I'm going to go 17-13 Bears on this one. I do think it could go either way, though. Kind of a coin toss late in the fourth quarter in a low-scoring game. But then we got the Sunday night game, Dallas at the New York Giants. And this one's tough to pick. It really is. I definitely lean Dallas. I think they're just the better football team here all across the board. And I'm definitely worried about how well Daniel Jones can play against this defense that should be roaring. But I also think the Giants are going to have some defensive success in this game too. You got those big-bodied mashers on the inside. They have a healthy Azeez Ojulari at this point in time. Kayvon Thibodeau loves playing in the big lights. I think that Giants pass rush is going to make this really, really close. And I think it's going to keep it a little bit lower scoring. Should be a fun matchup to watch regardless. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, but 20-17, and I could see this one going either way. Then we get to wrap up on Monday Night Football with the game of the week. We get to see what this Aaron Rodgers-led Jets team looks like against the Buffalo Bills. I'm just not a fan of how this matchup bodes for the Bills. The Jets already, without a quarterback last year, gave the Bills a run for their money. And this defense really, I'm not going to say they figured out Josh Allen, but with that pass rush against a Bills offensive line that does have a lot of question marks on it, they're going to put Josh Allen in a bind. And even if Allen gets some explosive plays, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple turnovers from this Bills offense, whether it's strip sacks or, interceptions, or even just these guys hunting for the ball against a guy like James Cook kind of getting his first crack as a starting running back. I'm just buying the Jets this year as a team that's poised to make a Super Bowl run. Not to mention no Von Miller for the Bills. I don't think they have the pass rush to get after Aaron Rodgers. And I think this is a soft Fangio-style defense that Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to pick apart. So I really like how the Jets match up in this one. I think they should be favorites in this game at home, and they're not. So definitely going to make this a play this week, a bet underdog, bet the spread, you name it. And that is it for my week 1 picks. Again, this video is available for the MVP level patrons on my Patreon every single week. If you don't sign up there, you won't see a weekly picks video until week 4 would be probably the first NFL week of October. But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed. Good luck to all of your teams. I hope you enjoy NFL Christmas here tomorrow. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck to the bettors out there. Let's make some money. And we'll see you guys Monday morning for my NFL Power Rankings. Peace out.